Yeah,
I caught you dancing.
I can't help it. It's undeniable. You have to go with the flow there.
That music that Kevin Tomlinson picked out is still making us dance.
That's right. That is right.
All right, so we are here on Print Books for Indie Authors Day, and I'm with Jim Azevedo, who's my good friend, colleague, and we're going to be talking about D2D Print. We're going to be answering your questions. If you have questions, we'll get to those towards the end of this live session. And yeah, we're going to be talking all about D2D Print and why. Why would we want to talk about that, Jim?
Well, Mark, first, I just want to give a huge thanks to you because for our viewers out there, like Mark has been working tirelessly to put like a whole day of informational, educational sessions together for you. He's going to be doing this for 7 hours today. I'm smiling because there's just no better person, I would say, in the industry with Mark's experience and expertise when it comes to print. I mean, he's got experience as an author, he's got experience as a bookseller, he's got experience as a publisher. So he's the guy that we look to. So I'm just so happy that you're all here viewing this with us. So welcome everybody. And thank you for spending time with us on a Saturday. So Mark, I know you covered this a little bit in the previous session.
Yeah.
Why are we even talking about print books when ebooks are such a thing and ebooks are so easy to do and so many authors are doing, frankly, quite well with ebooks only?
Because Jim, there's nothing like holding your own print book in your hands. It is such an amazing experience, but print books is such a huge part of the market. And it was kind of funny. We started, right? Smashwords and Draft2Digital started saying, hey, let's make it easy for authors to get ebooks into the ecosystem. And then just a few years ago, we launched D2D Print. And we were expecting it to be moderate because, you know, born in a digital world, we're thinking digital only. And we recognized, oh, wow, there's a lot of books that maybe aren't doing as well. Like a lot of our nonfiction books, for example, do really, really well in print where they do okay in ebook. And so there's a whole bunch of authors, there's a whole untapped market of print books. And the other great thing is print books are beautiful gifts still, right? So yeah, great. I can buy your ebook on, you know, Kobo or Amazon or Apple or whatever, but the print book I can buy for a friend. And so as an indie author, if you don't have print books, you're really missing out. And so what we want to do, since we made it so easy to get print books, we want to make it easier for you to get those print books out there so that people can buy your books as gifts or hold them in their hand or caress them like this beautiful mat. And this did come through the same printer that prints for Draft2Digital, this beautiful matte finish that I just got delivered the other day from Thorn. And again, there's nothing like holding that book. It's also a walking advertisement too, which is great because we're all looking for marketing and ads, right? Why not have the book itself market you?
Yeah, and it's a wonderful feeling when that cardboard box shows up and like you know that you're going to open that and all your books are there.
Exactly. And look at this comment from Michelle Kitts, who says, when I published my first book, everyone was asking about getting them in print from the start. So Michelle was like, yeah, I got an ebook. And they're like, no, Michelle, where's the print book? And so a lot of folks want print books again. So Michelle, and again, that's why we're spending the whole day focusing on it, because we spent so many years thinking digitally, but we want to remember, look at all these, my books here, as well as signed copies, because I've been in the industry for a long time, signed copies from hundreds of authors. There's nothing like that experience.
I'm glad we're talking about this. And that's a great segue too, because I started back with Smashwords back in 2011, and we were laser focused on ebooks. Ebooks was our entire life for all those years until we were acquired by Draft2Digital in 2022. And it's just that the print world is such a different animal than ebooks. So I'm hoping, Mark, that we can talk about, well, what's the approach like when it comes to producing, or not producing, but for an indie author to publish a print-on-demand book? Is it the same process as publishing an ebook? Is it as easy?
It's very similar, and it actually is easier if you already have an ebook. So, for example, if you have an ebook Draft2Digital, we take advantage of your assets. But Jim, would it be okay if I just shared? I pre-recorded a little. This morning, I got up and said, hey, let me walk through the process, and I'll record the screen just so you can kind of see in real time. And you know how you don't want to do it real time in case the tech doesn't work. So I pre-recorded it. And you know, I cut out me swearing when I did things
It
wrong and
sounds
stuff
like a
like
man who's learned from experience, actually.
that. All right, so let me just share that. I'll share. It's going to be broken into 3 segments. So the first one's the longest one, and it'll walk through that process. So let me just cue that up here as I have to go to
Okay.
video file. There it is. I'm gonna load a video file, and I'm gonna pick that video file from wherever I put it on my desktop here, which will only take me half an hour. And I go to making a print book, part 1. Here I am in the My Books tab, and I've brought up a book that I have created an ebook file for, and I want to make a print book of it. So here it is. It's already been, some of the metadata is there, so I'm going to click on print book, and I'm going to start my print book. Now, the good news is, because I've already entered my metadata for the ebook, the print book metadata is there, but I'm going to show it to you. So this is, you know, the language, etc. This is just a high-level view of the shared metadata. So I'm just going to look at that. I've got the front cover art already loaded, and then I've got the book title. If it was part of a series, I would put it there, the publisher name, the author name, the language. I haven't added search terms, so let me just go in and just put horror, short stories, creepy, scary, just some search terms as well. And it does not contain content inappropriate for minors, which is usually sort of reserved for erotica. I can put in my BISAC subject codes, the subject codes, and then you can rearrange them if I wanted to. After I've picked them, you can just drag and drop. So that's kind of how you enter that, and I'm going to hit submit. Okay, now I'm just going to scroll back up so you can kind of see the print book details. If I do need a cover from Self-Pub Book Covers or soon to launch bookcovers.com, I can go ahead and search there and find some book covers, but I already have one. The metadata is entered. And so I could upload a print-ready print interior, but for the example I'm using here, I'm going to load a Word document, a docx. It accepts docx, ODT, and RTF files. And I've got the release date. So the print book release date, this was the ebook release date, but the print book release date, I'm going to pick, where are we here? I'll pick sometime in 2025 because that makes more sense. Let's just say I'm going to make the print book available in early May. I've got my description, which I can modify here if I want. It's copied over from the ebook description. And if I wanted to add a paid collaborator, like a co-author for this, I could add that there. And I can also add, if my document does not have a title page, because it's just a manuscript, if it doesn't have a copyright page, a dedication, I can add those things in here, right? You know, so I could put in to mom or the copyright page. It'll add it for me based on some other prompts and information, or the title page, book-related quote or epigraph if I want. And I can actually, the system will automatically add an also by page, and it would be based by, you know, beginning, end of book. And that just shows any of my other books that I have listed that are available. Or I could even do a teaser. And the teaser book, I'm going to take a look, you know, at the very end. I'm going to say, if you like this, you probably really like my book, One Hand Screaming 20 Haunting Years. And that could get added to the very end of the manuscript. Now, I have the choice here of also adding an about the author or about the publisher. I think I have an about the author in my manuscript, so I'm going to leave that for now. And I'm going to say, give me a free Draft2Digital ISBN, or I could use my own. So I'm going to hit save and continue. Of course, whoops, this prompts me to say, you haven't uploaded a book file. So I'm going to browse. And pick this file. And you can see that it's loading. And now I'm going to go back and hit save and continue. And it is loading. And you can see by default, it's showing me a preview based on what it's imported from my book. So you can see that it's using cream paper. I can toggle that over to white just to see what that looks like. I can change the trim size. Different trim sizes will obviously, you're going to change the page count. So it's 208 pages. If I make the trim size larger, 6x9, and then I go back and I hit apply changes, one of the things you'll notice is there's not as many pages, which is going to cost less. So that's kind of cool. Maybe I can even go with a slightly larger size book and make the page count even smaller. And if I hit apply changes, you'll see it's going to change the page count. 140, but that's too big. I look at that 7.5. That's too big of a book. I'll go with the 6x9's more standard. So that's sort of a compromise in terms of it being the size of book that I want. Okay, so let's go back to cream. I'm actually just going to hit cream, and I'm going to actually want it to. So template style, let's start with this. Let's look at template style. I have D2D simple, and this is kind of what it looks like, and I can toggle through, and it's just very simple format. Nice and easy. It's got the page numbers, as you can see. It's got the headers on the different pages. Just, pretty standard format. I can change that. Let's go with modern watercolor. And I have to hit apply changes for the preview. And it's going to show me the preview of what that looks like. I'm just go back to the first page, and you'll see it's slightly different. And then you get this this little thing. And so that template style by default will actually include a drop cap as well. So that's the other thing that I can see. And I can change that in chapters and scenes, drop cap, phrase cap. Let's just show you what that looks like, so you can understand what phrase cap does. And phrase cap is, it just basically does uppercase for the first 4 words. And I can change that so I can have drop cap at the beginning of chapter, and the beginning of scenes just use phrase cap. So it's just a way of indicating. And as I scroll through, I can kind of see what that looks like. And this has obviously the beginning of scenes, etc. Oh, I have to, I did apply changes. So that's weird that it didn't do the drop cap there. Must be something weird in my formatting. But I can take a look at that and wander through, and I'm not a fan of the modern watercolor, so let me go with, I'm going to go with Nevermore. See what that looks like once I apply changes. That's under mystery and thriller, so it's something spookier. And I wonder if that might be more appropriate. And let's go back to first again so I can kind of see it from the beginning. And you can see, it's got this creepy decor. And it's got the little bird as well. But that might be too busy. So I might just go with, you know what? I'm kind of a fan of D2D Simple. And I do, D2D Simple will not let me choose. Will not. Maybe I'll go with minimal. I'm going to include a table of contents. I want it to add the table of contents. And I want to use drop caps because I think that will make it look a little bit more professional, a little bit fancier. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to go back to the beginning, and you can kind of see, and we got the table of contents, and I've got the introduction, etc. And then now it's broken up my stories in an interesting fashion. And now we look, okay, this looks pretty decent. I think I'm going to enjoy this look and feel. And again, I can change the way that where numbered pages start. I can change the header location. I can change the normal page number location. Like I can put that in the top or the bottom. Chapter page number location as well. So those are some of the things. And then in the body text, I can choose to hyphenate, yes or no. And I can do widow control. So widows are when the last lines in a paragraph appear at the top of a new page all by themselves. And so you set this number to 1, and it's going to allow a paragraph to be split so that the last line of text may appear on the next page alone. While setting this number to 5 is going to force a minimum of 5 lines together. on a new page. So what I can do is I can look through and see if I have any widows or orphans, and that refers to the opening line of a paragraph that's split from the ending lines wherever page breaks are determined. So I can take a look and see if there's anything that just looks a little bit out of place, and I can change that control. So far, so good. Once I'm happy with that, and again, one of the things I noticed I did not include is I did not include an introduction, or I should say a copyright page. So I could go back and add a copyright page, and I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to leave the page. I'm not going to save it, but I'm going to add copyright page and dedication to mom. All right.
You're on mute. You mute, buddy.
It works really, really well, much better when I unmute my microphone. So thanks, Jim. So yeah, that's just the beginning section. That was a relatively long chunk, but I want to very briefly, so we can get into some of the questions that are popping up, show you the next two steps of what can happen. Those ones they're just a few minutes long, whereas that was the longer one. So let me just I'm just going to go and load the next video up, and then we can kind of watch that and then talk through some of the stuff.
Okay.
So, and of course, it never stays on the folder I was in, so I have to keep finding it again every time I go to open it. So here we go. Okay, now this is where the preview is going to come up. What it's doing is it's taking that ebook front cover that I loaded. Now I have the option right here of uploading a custom print wraparound cover, and I can get a template that I could give to my designer, and then they can send me the perfect size that'll fit, or I can use the machine perfect one that's come out, because it takes my print cover, and you'll notice as I scroll down, the front cover's here, and it automatically pulled my metadata in, but I can now change and update this if I want to. I can change that. This is my default author photo, which I like. It's just showing me where the ISBN is going to go. This will update to the actual ISBN that my book is assigned, and I can now go ahead and change some things. So if the cover doesn't look right, I can use stretch and extend to make minor adjustments. And I can also do some things like, okay, I want a matte cover, not a glossy cover. The upper spine text, let's say I want to change this. Maybe I want to change the upper spine text to the title and the lower spine text to my name. And I could even add a publisher icon to the spine as well. So if I go and search, I can now go find Stark Publishing and go to my logos and pick a nice logo that I think will look good. And I'm just going to go with the standard. I'll load that up. And obviously it hasn't changed yet because I haven't hit apply changes, but I'm going to go in and I can do a few things. So for example, if I wanted to change this to a different sized font, I can make that larger. And I think my biography, I'm just going to make this a little bit shorter so I have a bit more space, and I can remove the author photo or put a different author photo on the cover, and then let's just see what happens when I apply changes. Okay, so now the text is at the top. Mark Leslie's here. Oh, it did some weird thing where it shrunk my text down, so I'm going to want to go and play with that a little bit more. And again, you can just keep playing with it. So I can keep playing with it until I have something that I am more satisfied with. And we'll just select that text. And I'm now going to go with, let me see, slightly larger, and apply changes and see what I get. And that's the great thing, is you can play, you can preview it, you can see how it looks. All right, so now I go back up and say, okay, now it looks like it's the text was so big that it scrolled off the page. So those after dark. So obviously that means That means I probably have to change this font size down one more. But again, that's just part of experimentation and taking your time and being patient, because I want to make sure that it looks right. All right, so let's go back up and take a look at that. There we go. That's back to the normal font size. I've got my author bio there, and I've got the text. And why did this? Oh, so I'm going to clear the colophone, and I'm going to actually pick what I looked at the help text, and try to pick something that's start publishing. Do I have a transparent? There it is. So I'm just going to go with the transparent, which is what they actually recommended here. and we'll give that a shot and see. Now, it is possible. I think there is an issue if the spine width is not large enough. Oh no, there's the logo right there. You can see the logo's down at the bottom. But if it was a really thin spine, the logo would not show up. Similarly with text, I think once you get below 100 pages, the text is just too tiny to read, so it by default wants it to be perfect. So once I'm satisfied, I've got the cover I want, I can now hit save and continue. All right, and Nigel pointed out it's a proper demo where everything doesn't work perfectly, and that's because that's how I work, not perfectly. Everything's a first draft. so thank you for that, Nigel. I appreciate that. But yeah, again, showing you again, I think the importance here is saying, oh, I didn't do it properly because I didn't read the instructions. Okay, what did they say? Oh, use a transparent one. Okay, so I went and found one. So thank you for making me feel good about those errors. But it is more realistic, right? And then the very final one, this is about half the size, is sort of that next step just before you hit publish. And again, I'll find the video file as I'm talking. Oh wait, it stayed on the here it is. Yay, I loaded it. It took me 3 seconds less. And this is where the book is going to be published. It's by default going to go to all of the platforms. And so this ends up being available anywhere that Ingram books are available. And so this is the projected royalties based on the price of $14.99. You'll notice if I change that to $16.99, it's going to change my royalties. If I change it to $15.99, etc. So I can say, okay, well, if I make this $12.99, I'll make $2 on the book, and that's fine. It's only a 200-page book. Let's just make it a little bit higher and go to 14, and that just buffers me in almost an extra $1. And I can also set territorial prices here. And so that by default, $14.99 US, you'll see it's $25.99 Australian, but let's say I wanted to make it $24.99. You'll notice my Australian royalties drop down, and maybe I want to make it $19.99 Canadian, because I'm hoping lots of people buy it in Canada. And euros looks fine, pounds seems fine, and I can hit apply territory. So it gives you that control and lets you know what your royalties are going to be. Also gives you this really nice preview, nice three-dimensional preview that I can copy this image if I want and use that. And so this is where I just say, okay, I'm the original creator. If this was a book I was publishing, with someone else's work as the publisher, as a collaborator, co-author, whatever, I've secured the rights to release this from the copyright holders, which would be me and my co-author. And then public domain. And public domain is books that are classics that are hundreds of years old, like Shakespeare and Charles Dickens and stuff like that. And that's not really something that the book industry wants. So it's not really something that you should bother wasting your time with. You really want to work on the books that are actually yours, your original copyrightable content that you can put out into the world. And then I confirm that I have the worldwide rights. So you confirm, and you hit save and continue. Okay, that's it. That's it for my cooking shows, pre-cooked pieces of information as well, just to give you a feel. So that next step then is you then actually approve it and it goes to publication. Now I still wanted to go and monkey with my book, so I didn't want it to go live yet. So yeah, I did that.
That's super intuitive and easy to follow along, go step by step. instructions, Mark. So thank you for putting that together. But I don't know if anybody else felt this. I felt a little bit of anxiety as you were going through the steps, because I'm like you, I make mistakes. And then sometimes, as I told you before we even went live here, I get called away from my desk all the time by my little girl or my dog going nuts over something. So do we have the opportunity, like, when you save those changes as you're going through, can you save your project sort of midstream and come back to it later?
Yeah, and I think that relates to a question I think I saw Bill. It scrolled up in the feed, but Bill had asked. So thank you for asking that. Yeah. And actually several times when I was making the video, and the dog wanted to go out. So I did, I stopped recording, then I went downstairs and let the dog out and then came back up. It's still there. Like all the drafts are still there.
Okay.
So all the stuff, all the updates that you make, I mean, you have to hit apply changes for that to be saved. But that last apply changes, when I go out and I just go back and look at my catalog or go look at the ebook or even, just go look at my original Word document, because I had an error in my Word document where I didn't have it. I had a big space there that thought it was a scene break, and that's why it wasn't doing drop. So it was because garbage in, garbage out, right? It's a dumb computer. And so some of the times you have to go back to your original source document and say, oh, it doesn't recognize this as a chapter. What did I do different in this chapter? Because all the other ones look good. So there's those elements. So you can go, let's be honest, you put so much time and effort and care and love and attention into your book, into writing the book, into getting the book edited, into getting it designed or whatever. When it comes time to publishing, take a breath.
But Mark, I just want to get it out there to the world.
I know, and I'm so excited for you, Jim. But I just, like you saw, I made a bunch of errors because, again, and I was trying to do it really fast. Because like I have to record this before later today, and so I made some mistakes and stuff. But that's okay. You can go back and change it. You can go, I messed up the text. Let's try again.
I'm glad you brought it up, Mark, because I asked, Tara and the support team, like, how fast can somebody publish? And they kind of rolled their eyes at me. They're like, you can literally do it in 5 minutes if you wanted to, but we would advise you not to do that. Like, don't try to break any speed records, because
take a good hour.
Yeah, when you get to the point where you're looking at those design templates and when you're kind of fidgeting with your cover image, slow down. Take it easy at that point. Make sure that you got it right.
Yeah, that kind of relates to a comment I think that Nigel posted that says, I go nuts over widows and orphans. I can spend ages tweaking. And again, this was only like 170 pages. And I, as you saw, I just went like motored through. I wasn't actually really looking. And I bet you Nigel's more of a perfectionist who said, okay, I want to get this right, because this is a beautiful product that's people are going to hold in their hands. So it is important to take the time. Again, I was trying to rush through for the sake of the demo. But yeah, it is really, really important to do those things. And then you can adjust and say, okay, if I change it from 1 to 2, what does it look like? And then it's going to reformat and it's going to do different page counts. So and that's the other thing I didn't do is I didn't say, hey, if I go with the bigger trim size, I'll get a smaller page count and it'll cost less. Therefore, with the same retail price, I make more margin. And those are the things you can do. So it is 100% worth taking your time and getting it right. Now, again, it's print on demand. So after you get the change token, right? Because again, if you want to make a change after you've locked and loaded and approved it for distribution, and I think we talked about that in the previous session, but I'll repeat it here because there's probably people watching this who weren't watching the first one.
Sure.
It costs us $25 every time we submit a change, not the metadata, not the title and the book author name and the description of the book. None of that stuff that's only digital is fine, but any changes to the file of the interior.
The interior of the book. Okay.
Yeah, the interior book or the cover of the book, the print cover.
Okay.
We get charged $25 for every change we submit. And we'll cover the cost. Again, the setup is free. We cover that for you. But we don't want to allow the system, like you can with ebooks, you can change your ebook 50,000 times in one day. No big deal. It doesn't cost us anything. It's a system. But it would cost us $25 every single time we make the change. So we say, hey, we can't afford to have you go to the bar and just order any like the top shelf booze, everything you want, and put us in the poorhouse, and then we won't exist anymore.
That's an interesting analogy, Mark. But go on.
Once a quarter, once every 3 months, we'll pay for a change token for you. Because again, that way 4 times a year, if you want to make some updates, you can do it. But if you really, really want to make a change beyond what we're paying for, beyond that first round that we buy for you every quarter, you can purchase your own change token. And it's easy. It's DIY. You go in, you pay for a token, and then you can make your change. So you don't even have to wait for a human at Draft2Digital, right? If you're doing it on a long weekend and our staff are rightfully taking a bit of a break and hanging out with their families.
So if I understand correctly, like, so you could look at your proof, you can look at your digital proof and take your time and go through every single page on that product. And then you can order a physical proof. So we'll send you a draft.
Yeah.
Which is
well, and it costs money because, again, it costs money
Sure.
to print this proof, but you have to pay for the proof and you have to pay for the shipping, right? Just like an author copy. Yeah. And you can choose how fast or how slow. In Canada, there's only one method of shipping, but in the US, you can go with standard, really cheap media mail. You can go like, I want it tomorrow. No, not tomorrow, because the printer has to print it and stuff like that. But you can get it 24 hours after they print it.
Yeah.
As opposed to, it's typically, usually even here in Canada, it usually only takes 7 to 10 days. So it's not that long.
But if you do need to make a change, maybe would you say it's better just to kind of wait until the book has been out in the market for, a certain amount of time? Because maybe readers discover little typos or something like that.
Yeah, and you know what? And it's your book. You're in control. That's the great thing. So you can make the changes, but just keep in mind that every change you make is going to cost you $25. So if you go, oh, gee, my readers found 3 typos, so I'm going to fix them. Or are you going to wait another week and see if any more typos show up so you can fix them all at once? Because I promise you, and this is with traditionally published books too, not a single book is published without errors or typos. And most in traditional publishing, they're like, yeah, well, we got to print 5,000, so we're not going to make the change. So too bad, unless it's really, really, really bad. But that's a cost that they'd have to bear.
Okay.
So
should we
answer some of the questions that are?
Tom had a question about metadata. Here it is. Welcome, Tom. Tom asks, how often can or should an author change their keywords or categories or book description? Mark, you're muted, sir.
I'm just gesturing here. I'm just miming the answer, Tom. You can change the metadata thousands of times. It's not going to cost you anything for Draft2Digital Print. Should you? That's up to you. I mean, you can always tweak, you can always play with it, but again, maybe working on that next book or working on some other things rather than going every day I'm going to change my keywords. Is that really a good use of your time? And that's something, Tom, that only you can answer. Now, the other thing you got to remember, when you change a category, that metadata we're going to send to our retail partners and our library partners. And retail partners are usually pretty good about making those changes within, we say anywhere from, well, Smashwords will happen, within an hour usually. And then some of our partners will happen within, a few hours, usually 24 to 48 to 72 hours. Libraries, they can take weeks for them to change. So you don't want to be playing with them too much all the time. So take your time, pick the right ones. And if you realize, and I've made this mistake, I thought something was a particular genre and I published it under that genre. And then my readers were like, this isn't this, it's that. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. So I made a change because I didn't want the wrong people to be buying the book. So it is important that you change them to make sure they're as accurate as possible, but there's no limit on the time there.
Yeah, good point. I was going to say, Mark, too, another question I asked of customer support is, and this is ebook specific, but I wanted to know how quickly those changes, made it into those virtual retail stores and into the library platforms. And they said, 48 hours. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And like you already said, much quicker at the Smashword store. Then I asked her, well, how long does it take, internationally too? Because back in the early days of self-publishing, it took, a few days. And she's like, no, across the board, about 48 hours at the most. Typically, sometimes, things happen, but typically 48 hours.
Yeah.
At the most. Can we get this question from Guillaume up? Sure. Let me bring it up real quick. Guillaume asks, my French spy novels, 3 so far out of 11, are in both English and French. The French version I would like to do as a print book. How do I get these into French-speaking countries?
Well, great question. Guillaume, you can publish in, I picked English because that's what my book was. And I have published French books through Draft2Digital. I have a French translation of one of my short story collections. It'll go to Ingram, to all of the places as well, because Ingram distributes to most of the retailers around the world. So it will get listed in French on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble, on the various platforms, on bookshop.org, and even the retailers in France, for example, or Chapters Indigo here in Canada, that list French books. So again, that's just part of the metadata. So again, you publish the book, and English version, French version, obviously you're going to have different covers with the text in French. But yeah, there's no limit on that.
Cool. Do you want me to just keep cycling through some questions,
Yeah,
Mark?
let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. Here's one from Terry Odell. Terry asks, I prefer different front and back. Let me slow down. I prefer different front and back matter in print versus ebook. Would I upload only the meat of the manuscript and then use the D2D print options to move things around?
Yeah, you can start with print only, Terry, as well. Now, the reason we have shared metadata is we have the ability for you to not have to enter your data twice. And that's just meant to be a convenience, but you can still separately control that. So, and I have done this too. So my ebook version has different text, and then my print version listing has different text. Now, I can still have even differenter, because that's a word, differenter text on the back cover, right? I can change it. You saw my default bio that goes to books2read.com is there, but I was like, it's too long. Let's just cut that last paragraph. So I can still modify it for the back of the cover too. And again, whether you've loaded that, something that you've had designed yourself and you've loaded, you can load that. It doesn't have to match exactly what's in the metadata. So yeah, you can do that, Terry, and sometimes that's recommended, right? You want just a different version because if someone's picking up the book and actually scanning that, what's that going to look like as opposed to that online listing that you see at Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Chapters Indigo, etc., or Waterstones we mentioned earlier in the UK.
Okay. Here's a good question from Nigel. Nigel asks, I have my full interior formatted in Atticus and the paperback cover designed with spine and back. Can I upload these as they are?
Yeah, and actually, I'm glad you asked that, Nigel. So I'm gonna actually have a guest from Atticus and a guest from Vellum on in the next session at the top of the next hour. And they're going to be doing a bit of a demo of each system, and then we're going to panel discussion and answer your questions. And yes, they create those print-ready files. You should be able to load the print-ready file from Atticus and the print-ready file from Vellum or whatever for the cover for the interior, and it should work. I know authors who do that all the time, so it should work really, really well. And then you don't even need to touch anything, right? You just load them. And what we make a machine perfect ISBN. So whether you put your ISBN in or it's one that you get from us, because we want it to be machine perfect, and sometimes when authors add their own ISBN, they sometimes just copy and paste from a web form and it's not high res, and then it's not readable by the printer, and then it gets rejected. So we do force our own machine perfect ISBN. So on the template, you'll notice the ISBN is always in the exact same spot. So that is the one non-flexible thing that we have on those covers, because we want it to be perfect, so there's not these weird delays that you're not expecting. We want the delay to be up front when you're making it, so that once you've pushed it in, it gets passed by the print partner.
Okay. So somebody can do a POD book just like they would do an ebook without an ISBN, without their own ISBN. We would provide that to them, and we would also create the barcode for them automatically.
Yeah, the machine perfect barcode as well. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Oh, this is a good question from Tom about where was it? We're both clicking buttons over here, so when we do that,
I'm trying to keep my hands off, Jim. It's trying really hard.
No, please. Tom asked, is there a limit on file size for uploads?
Gee, I've never encountered that myself. I think I had a file size error when I tried to load an icon, like my logo that you could print on a billboard. That was too big. But you'll get that error. It'll tell you if it's too big. But in terms of the file size for interior, I think there's a limit, and I don't know. It's in the FAQ, and I should know this somewhere. I think it's something like 650 pages or somewhere close to that. I'm not sure
either. It's pretty massive stuff.
It's pretty large. Like you can almost write a book on the spine. That's how thick the spine is. But
yeah. Yeah, and since we don't allow that color interior yet, I suppose at the time when we do start offering that as an option, the file's just going to become even
But
larger.
again, it's based on what the print-on-demand printer can
That's right.
accommodate, right? We can't expand in ebooks. Yay, sky's the limit. But when it comes to print books, you actually have a physical limitation there.
Okay.
I did see a question from Tom that says, "Will D2D also do an ebook day?" You know what? If you guys are interested in it, we could do something very similar where we just kind of talk about ebooks in that same way. So email support at Draft Digital and say, "Hey, could you do an ebook day too? Because hey, this was fun. I enjoyed working on it." So.
I have a question, Mark, based on all of your vast experience. If I'm going to order author copies, how
Yeah.
many should I order? Do you say
Uh-huh.
let's say, I'm a first-time author, or maybe
Great
even a
question.
second-time author, and maybe I'm going to my first reader event and I want to have some on the table, or maybe
Oh,
I'm publishing a non-fiction book for the first time. Is there some
that's a
math?
tough one, Jim. So remember, it's print on demand. If you're in the US, for example, where a lot of them, like if you're in a country that the printing is domestic and local and it's not coming across the border, like for me, you
Okay.
can take advantage of media mail, and remember, it's print on demand. So you can order one at a time. But remember, you're paying for shipping every time you order. So here's what I do, because I'm in Canada. So not only is the shipping ridiculously more expensive to go
Mhm.
farther, I also sometimes get nailed with customs fees. That sometimes happens when stuff crosses the border. And right now, it's always been random. Every 10th order, I suddenly have to pay an extra $50. So I try to order enough copies so I can amortize my costs. Now, I'm not an accountant, but I do try to operate like a business and say, okay, if my print cost is $3 on these $10 books, just say, for example, just to make easy math, that means it gives me a $7 margin. But now, based on the cost of shipping, and I amortize the cost of shipping across those books that I order. And let's say I have 20 books. I take the cost of shipping, divide by 20, and say, okay, so whatever that cost of shipping is, let's say I can't do the math in my head. Let's say it's $100 shipping. And that would be, my cost is really 5 plus 3 plus the print cost. So my cost is really $8. And I sell the books for 10. I'm only making $2 on the ones that I sell directly. Now, I do a lot of in-person events. And so I have probably about a dozen to 20 different in-person events I do where I have a table, I have my little tablecloth, I have my author signs, I have my little cash register thing, my square reader. So I actually have, my wife is amazing. She's building stuff in the basement right now as we speak, but only between sessions. She actually built me a room in the basement that is just nothing but my shipping and receiving room where I can weigh books for online orders that I get. But I also have books on the shelves. Now I use a combination of Draft2Digital Print author copies, Ingram Spark author copies, and I even have a relationship with a local printer here in Kitchener-Waterloo. And so even though the cost per unit from them may be a little bit higher than I'd get from Draft2Digital, for example, I don't have to pay shipping. So even though the cost per unit's a little bit higher, I still make more money. So I use a combination, and I recommend authors do the investigation and say, okay, I'm going to use Draft2Digital Print for distribution so people can order it online and whatever. And maybe I'm going to use my local printer, especially if you're going to be going back to them a lot. Sometimes when you're a regular customer, they give you a preferred rate.
It's great advice, figuring that into your business costs.
Yeah.
Yeah, math makes my head explode sometimes.
And I had to do math on the fly there. That's how I lost my hair.
Yeah. Okay, we've got about a minute left in this session, Mark. Gosh, I'm going through my own selfish questions here. I asked you that one.
Did we get any of the other questions that?
I think we did.
Did we get Michelle's question? Full formatted cover for print, or can I make a cover from the file? Yeah, so great question, Michelle. You can load your own fully formatted cover for print, or you can indeed make a cover from the ebook cover, which I've done for a lot of the one I just did as the example. So great question.
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Michelle.
All right. So
I'm circling up. I think we got him, Mark.
We got them. All right. So we have, so again, we showed you Draft2Digital Print. It's free. We got the templates and stuff like that. But there are some paid services out there that are phenomenal for authors. And the very next session that I'll be doing in just 15 minutes is going to be formatting and design options. I'm so honored that we're going to have representatives from Atticus and Vellum. And they're going to be sharing some demos. They're going to be sharing some Q&A. They're going to be sharing basically how you can get those how you can get print and ebooks for that matter using their tools. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about that because there's some pretty spectacular tools. I love having. Oh, and thank you, Nigel. You can find the next session if you go to our YouTube channel, or you go to d2d.tips/print day, and I'm going to pop that up on the screen if I can find the banner. D2D Print, d2d.tips/print day, and then you can scroll down to the next session and find it that way. We did. Jim actually did email that out earlier in the week in the author newsletter. So I bet you lots of authors that goes into their spam folder and they never see it. So you're getting great information from our marketing team that you should really check out, including that.
I'm also putting our YouTube channel there too.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. And thank you guys for watching. All right. Next session just coming up in just less than 15 minutes. So how do we get back to ending this? Let's end the stream and have a great afternoon. And for those of you coming back, I'll see you in a few minutes.
Bye, all.